You walk past the Kroger bakery section and the smell hits you immediately. Fresh bread. Warm dough. Something sweet baking in the back. The aroma fills that corner of the store and it feels genuine. Wholesome. Like someone's grandmother just pulled a tray of cookies out of the oven. That smell is one of the most powerful marketing tools in the entire grocery industry. The display cases are full. Cookies stacked in clear containers. Donuts lined up in rows. Muffins the size of softballs sitting in individual plastic clamshells. Bread loaves, wrapped in paper bags with windows showing golden brown crust. Everything looks artisan. Everything looks like it was made in that store by bakers. This morning. And here's what most Kroger shoppers believe, that the bakery section represents fresh, simple, real baking. Flour, water, sugar, eggs, butter. The basics. A step up from packaged bread in the bread aisle. Closer to homemade, healthier than mass-produced options. That belief is why people pay premium prices for bakery section items instead of buying similar products in the center aisles for half the cost. But the reality of how supermarket bakery sections operate is different from what most consumers imagine. The bread you smell baking might be finishing its bake cycle after arriving at the store frozen and par-baked. The muffins in those individual containers often contain more sugar than a candy bar. The ingredient lists on bakery items can run 20, 25, even 30 ingredients long, filled with preservatives, dough conditioners and additives that don't appear in recipes you'd make at home. Kroger operates over 2,800 stores across 35 states under multiple banners including Kroger, Ralph's, Fred Meyer, King Soopers and others. The bakery section is a major profit center. Items are priced at a premium because of the fresh-baked perception. But the gap between that perception and what the ingredient labels actually reveal is wider than most shoppers realize. We examined 8 of the most popular products from Kroger's bakery section. We read every ingredient list. We analyzed the nutrition facts. We looked at what the labels say versus what the packaging and that warm bread smell suggest. What we found isn't about Kroger doing anything illegal. Every product meets FDA requirements. But legal and transparent are two different things, and the information on the back of the package tells a very different story than the experience of walking past that bakery counter. Let's start with the most basic item, the one that feels the most straightforward. Kroger Bakery white bread. It comes in a paper bag with a window. You can see the loaf. It looks like real bread. The label often says baked fresh daily or freshly baked. Many shoppers assume this bread was mixed, proofed and baked in that Kroger location from scratch. Here's how it actually works. Most Kroger bakery bread, along with bakery bread at many supermarket chains, arrives at the store as par-baked frozen loaves. Par-baking means the bread is mixed and partially baked at a central production facility, then frozen and shipped to store. At the store, employees take frozen loaves, place them in ovens, and finish the baking process. This creates the smell of fresh bread. It produces a warm loaf, and technically it was baked fresh that day, but it wasn't made from scratch in that store. The ingredient list for Kroger Bakery white bread shows enriched wheat flour, which is refined white flour stripped of nutrients and then fortified with synthetic vitamins, water, sugar, soybean oil, salt, yeast, and then the additives begin. Dough conditioners including datum, sodium stearoyl lactylate, and calcium propionate, monoglycerides and diglycerides, enzymes, ascorbic acid. Datum stands for diacetyl tartaric acid ester of monoglycerides. It's an emulsifier that strengthens dough and improves the texture of commercial bread. Sodium stearoyl lactylate serves a similar purpose. These are industrial baking additives. They help dough rise consistently, maintain structure during freezing and thawing, and produce uniform results across thousands of loaves. They're FDA approved. But they're not ingredients that appear in bread recipes you'd find in a home baking cookbook. Calcium propionate is a preservative. It prevents mold growth and extends shelf life. The bread needs to survive being frozen, shipped, stored, thawed, finished in the oven, displayed, purchased and stored again at home. That requires preservation technology. A loaf of bread baked at home from flour, water, yeast, and salt would mold within 3 to 5 days. Kroger bakery bread lasts 7 to 10 days or longer because of these additives. The nutrition facts show 1 gram of fiber per slice and 230 milligrams of sodium. The fiber content is minimal because refined white flour has had most of the wheat bran and germ removed. The sodium content is notable. 2 slices of bread for a sandwich delivers 460 milligrams of sodium before you add deli meat, cheese, or condiments. Kroger bakery white bread costs around $3 to $4 per loaf. Packaged white bread in the bread aisle costs around $2. The premium you're paying is for the perception of freshness and the in-store baking experience. The ingredient list is nearly identical to packaged bread. The nutritional profile is the same. You're paying for the smell and the paper bag. Now let's look at an item that millions of Americans buy thinking it's a reasonable breakfast choice. Kroger bakery blueberry muffins. These sit in the bakery case in individual plastic clamshells. They're large, they look substantial, they have visible blueberry. The packaging suggests a wholesome, filling breakfast. Many parents grab these for their children thinking it's better than a donut. Here's what the nutrition facts show. A single Kroger bakery blueberry muffin contains approximately 450 to 500 calories and 34 to 38 grams of sugar. Let me provide context for those numbers. A Krispy Kreme original glazed donut contains 190 calories and 10 grams of sugar. This muffin has more than double the calories and more than triple the sugar of a donut that no one would call a health food. The American Heart Association recommends limiting added sugar to 25 grams per day for women and 36 grams per day for men. This single muffin puts most women over their daily limit and gets men very close. And this is marketed as breakfast, a meal that's supposed to provide sustained energy for the morning. What it actually provides is a massive sugar spike followed by a crash. The ingredient list reveals why. Sugar appears multiple times in different forms: regular sugar, brown sugar, corn syrup. The blueberries themselves are often in a sweetened filling that contains additional sugar. Then comes enriched bleached flour, soybean oil, eggs, and a long list of additives. Modified cornstarch, leavening agents including sodium bicarbonate and sodium aluminum phosphate, mono and diglyceride, natural and artificial flavors, sodium propionate as preservative, artificial color. The muffin is engineered to be moist, sweet, and shelf-stable. Real blueberry muffins made at home dry out within 2 days. These muffins stay moist for a week because of the oil content, the modified cornstarch that retains moisture, and the preservatives that prevent staling. They're designed for commercial production, freezing, thawing, display, and extended shelf life at home. That requires food science and additives. Many parents see the word muffin and think of it as a more acceptable breakfast than cake or cookies. Nutritionally, this Kroger bakery muffin is closer to dessert than breakfast. The sugar content, calorie density, and lack of meaningful fiber or protein make it a poor choice for sustained morning energy. If you're going to consume 500 calories and 35 grams of sugar, at least acknowledge you're eating cake for breakfast. Don't pretend it's a wholesome meal. Next, let's talk about Kroger bakery chocolate chip cookies. These are displayed in clear plastic containers near the bakery counter. They look homemade, large, chunky chocolate chips, slightly angular shapes that suggest hand-formed dough, the kind of cookies that might come from a family recipe, and they smell good. That bakery aroma extends to the cookie section. Here's what those cookies actually are. Most Kroger bakery cookies, like cookies in most supermarket bakeries, start as frozen pre-formed dough. The dough arrives at the store already shaped into individual cookie portions. Store employees place frozen dough rounds on baking sheets and bake them according to a timed protocol. The result is a warm cookie that smells like it was made from scratch. The reality is that it was made in a factory, frozen, shipped, and finished in the store. A single Kroger bakery chocolate chip cookie weighs approximately 1.5 to 2 ounces and contains around 200 to 240 calories, 11 to 13 grams of fat, and 18 to 22 grams of sugar. These are not small cookies. The size makes them feel substantial and worth the premium price. But the nutritional density means eating 2 cookies delivers 400 plus calories and 40 grams of sugar with minimal nutritional value. The ingredient list shows enriched flour, sugar, chocolate chips which contain sugar, cocoa and soy lecithin, butter or vegetable oil depending on the specific formulation, eggs and then the additives, baking soda, salt, natural and artificial flavor, soy lecithin as an emulsifier, dough conditioners in some formulations, preservatives to maintain freshness. The chocolate chips themselves are engineered to maintain their shape during baking and not melt completely. Regular chocolate chips from a home baking bag melt and spread. Commercial bakery chocolate chips are formulated with stabilizers and specific fat compositions to hold their form. This creates the visual appeal of distinct chocolate chunks. It also means the chocolate is a manufactured product optimized for appearance and stability, not necessarily taste or simplicity. Kroger bakery cookies typically cost around $6 to $8 per dozen. That's 50 to 65 cents per cookie. Compare that to a package of Chips Ahoy cookies in the cookie aisle, which costs around $4 for a package of 30 cookies, roughly 13 cents per cookie. The bakery cookies are nearly 5 times the price per unit. The ingredient lists are similar. The main differences are size, the fresh baked smell, and the perception of quality created by the bakery setting. If you enjoy the cookies and the size and taste justify the premium for you, that's a valid choice. But understand that you're paying primarily for the theater of the bakery section. The actual product is not dramatically different from packaged cookies made in a factory. It's just finished in a different oven closer to the point of sale. Now let's examine an item that occupies an interesting position in American breakfast culture. Kroger Bakery Glazed Donut. Donuts are honest about what they are. No one buys a glazed donut thinking it's health food. But the Kroger Bakery donuts create a perception of being fresher and higher quality than packaged donuts in the bread aisle. That perception comes with a price premium and some ingredient realities worth noting. A single Kroger Bakery glazed donut contains approximately 260 to 280 calories, 13 to 15 grams of fat, and 12 to 15 grams of sugar. That's similar to a packaged Hostess donut or a Dunkin' Donuts glazed donut. The calorie and sugar content are what you'd expect from a fried glazed pastry. The donut doesn't pretend to be something it's not. Here's where it gets interesting. The ingredient list for Kroger Bakery donuts includes enriched flour, water, sugar, vegetable shortening which may contain partially hydrogenated oils, eggs, yeast and a series of dough conditioners. The glaze contains sugar, water, corn syrup and artificial flavor. Some formulations include mono and diglycerides, datum, sodium stearoyl lactylate, and enzymes. The partially hydrogenated oil issue deserves attention. The FDA has restricted the use of partially hydrogenated oils because they contain trans fats which are linked to heart disease. Most manufacturers have reformulated products to eliminate or reduce trans fats to trace amounts, but some bakery products still contain small amounts of partially hydrogenated oils that fall below the FDA's labeling threshold of 0.5 grams per serving, allowing them to be labeled as 0 grams of trans fat. If the ingredient list includes the words partially hydrogenated, the product contains some trans fat, even if the nutrition label says 0. The serving size definition allows for this labeling. One donut might have 0.4 grams of trans fat, which rounds down to 0 on the label but still enters your body. If you eat 3 donuts, you've consumed over a gram of trans fat without the label indicating it. Kroger Bakery donuts cost around $5 to $7 per dozen. Packaged donuts in the bread aisle cost around $3 to $4 for a similar quantity. The bakery donuts might taste slightly better. They might be a bit fresher, but the ingredient profile and nutritional content are nearly identical. You're paying 50 to 75% more for minor differences in the bakery department atmosphere. Let's shift to a product that markets itself differently. Private Selection Artisan Bread. Private Selection is Kroger's premium store brand. These breads come in varieties like Asiago cheese, rosemary olive oil, and Italian herb. They're positioned as higher quality, more sophisticated options. The packaging is more upscale. The price point is higher. The breads look rustic and artisan. A loaf of private selection artisan bread typically costs between $4 and $6. That's double the price of regular Kroger bakery bread. The expectation created by that price and the artisan labeling is that these loaves are made with better ingredients, simpler formulations, and more authentic baking processes. Let's see if the ingredient list supports that. The ingredient list for private selection: rosemary olive oil bread, shows enriched flour, water, olive oil, rosemary, salt, yeast, and then the familiar additives. Dough conditioners including datum and enzymes, ascorbic acid, calcium propionate as preservative, monoglyceride. The bread has real olive oil and real rosemary. Those ingredients are present and contribute to the flavor, but the base formulation still relies on refined enriched flour and industrial additives. The artisan designation on the label is a marketing term, not a regulatory one. There's no FDA definition for artisan bread. Any bread can be called artisan. The word suggests handcrafted, small batch, traditional methods, but these loaves are made in the same large-scale production facilities as regular Kroger bakery bread. They're frozen, shipped, and finished in stores using the same par baking process. The nutritional profile shows similar patterns to other Kroger breads. 1 to 2 grams of fiber per slice. Around 200–250 milligrams of sodium per slice. The olive oil adds fat calories, which increases the calorie count slightly compared to plain white bread. But the overall nutritional value is modest. Private selection artisan bread is a better tasting product than basic white bread for many consumers. The added flavors and the olive oil create a more interesting eating experience, but the ingredient list reveals that it's still industrial bread with additives, made using the same commercial processes as cheaper options. The artisan label and premium price are primarily about positioning and perception, not a fundamental difference in how the bread is made. Now let's look at an item that sits at the intersection of convenience and morning routines. Kroger bakery croissants. These are displayed in the bakery case, often in bags of 4 or 6. They look buttery and flaky. The layers are visible. They feel European, French, like something you'd get at a Parisian cafe. That association drives sales and justifies the price. Real croissants are made through a labor-intensive process called lamination. Butter is folded into dough repeatedly to create hundreds of thin layers. When baked, the butter melts and creates steam, which separates the layers into that characteristic flaky texture. Traditional croissant dough contains flour, butter, milk, sugar, salt, and yeast. That's it. 6 ingredients. The technique creates the final product. Kroger bakery croissants are not made this way. The ingredient list shows enriched flour, water, margarine, or vegetable oil shortening, sugar, eggs, salt, yeast, and then additives, mono and diglycerides, datum, enzymes, soy lecithin, natural and artificial flavor, sodium stearoyl lactylate, calcium propionate. The fat component is often margarine or vegetable shortening, not butter. This reduces costs significantly. Real butter is expensive. Margarine and shortening made from soybean or palm oil are cheaper and more stable during freezing and shipping. They don't deliver the same flavor as butter, which is why artificial butter flavor appears in the ingredient list. The croissants are engineered to taste buttery without using much actual butter. The croissants arrive at Kroger stores as frozen, pre-formed, par-baked pastry. Store employees bake them to finish the process. The result looks like a croissant. It has layers, it's flaky, but it's a manufactured approximation of a traditional croissant, made with industrial fats and dough conditioners, rather than butter and lamination technique. A Kroger bakery croissant contains around 230 to 270 calories, 12 to 15 grams of fat, and 5 to 7 grams of sugar. The fat content is notable, but if the fat is coming from margarine with partially hydrogenated oils, which some formulations still contain. That introduces the trans fat concerns we discussed with donuts. Check the ingredient list for the words partially hydrogenated. If they appear, trans fats are present in trace amount. Kroger croissants typically cost around $4 to $6 for a package of 6. That's 65 cents to $1 per croissant. A real croissant from a French bakery might cost $3 to $4, but it's made with butter, uses traditional technique, and contains 6 ingredients instead of 16. The Kroger version is cheaper, but it's also a very different product than what the flaky layers suggest. Let's move to another breakfast staple, Kroger Bakery Bagel. These are displayed in the bakery section in bags, often positioned near the cream cheese. Bagels have a wholesome reputation. They feel like a solid breakfast choice, dense, filling, a vehicle for protein like eggs or smoked salmon. Many people buy bagels thinking they're making a better choice than a muffin or donut. Here's the reality. Kroger Bakery Bagels are made from enriched flour, water, sugar, yeast, salt, and additives. The ingredient list includes dough conditioners like dedum and enzymes, monoglyceride, calcium propionate, soy lecithin. Some varieties include high fructose corn syrup or corn syrup in the formulation. The everything bagels have seasoning blends that add flavor but also add sodium. A single Kroger plain bagel contains approximately 280 to 300 calories and 450 to 500 milligrams of sodium. That sodium number is important. A bagel delivers about 20% of your daily sodium limit before you add anything to it. Add cream cheese, and you add another 200 milligrams or more. Make a bagel sandwich with eggs and cheese, and you're easily over 800 to 900 milligrams of sodium in one breakfast. The bagels are dense and filling because they're large and made from refined flour, but the fiber content is minimal, usually 2 to 3 grams per bagel. They provide quick energy from carbohydrates but don't offer sustained satiety because of the low fiber and protein content. Within 2 hours, most people are hungry again after a plain bagel breakfast. Kroger bagels are made using a commercial process. The dough is formed by machines into bagel shapes, given a brief boil to create the characteristic exterior texture, and then baked. In many cases, the bagels are par-baked, frozen, shipped to stores, and finished with a quick bake to make them appear fresh. This is more efficient than traditional bagel making, which involves overnight fermentation and specific boiling and baking techniques. The bagels cost around $4 to $5 for a bag of 6. That's roughly 65 to 85 cents per bagel. They're acceptable products, but the fresh bakery positioning creates an expectation of higher quality than the ingredient list and production method actually deliver. They're mass-produced, frozen, and finished in stores, just like the bread and croissants. Finally, let's look at a product that perfectly captures the disconnect between bakery marketing and bakery reality. Kroger Bakery Cinnamon Roll. These come in plastic containers, often sold as 4-packs or 6-packs. They have thick white icing, they look indulgent, they smell incredible when they're warming in the bakery case. They're positioned as a special treat for weekend breakfast or brunch. A single Kroger Bakery cinnamon roll contains approximately 420 to 480 calories and 48 to 54 grams of sugar. That sugar number is stunning. It's nearly double the entire daily recommended limit for women and significantly over the limit for men. One cinnamon roll, before you've had anything else to eat or drink, that's more sugar than 2 cans of Coca-Cola. The ingredient list shows enriched flour, sugar appearing multiple times, brown sugar in the filling, vegetable shortening, eggs, icing made from powdered sugar and vegetable oil, cinnamon, yeast, salt, and the now familiar additives, mono and diglycerides, dedum, enzyme, artificial flavor to enhance the cinnamon taste, calcium propionate to prevent mold. The icing alone accounts for a significant portion of the sugar. It's made primarily from powdered sugar and shortening or palm oil, whipped together to create a fluffy texture. It's not cream cheese frosting, despite sometimes being marketed that way. Real cream cheese frosting contains cream cheese, butter, and powdered sugar. This is vegetable oil, sugar, and artificial flavor. The cinnamon rolls are made from frozen dough that's proofed and baked in store. The icing is applied after baking, either in the store or at the production facility. The result is a product that's warm, sweet, and smells amazing. It's also a concentrated sugar bomb with minimal nutritional value and a significant calorie load. Kroger Bakery cinnamon rolls cost around $5 to $8 for a 4-pack, depending on promotions. That's approximately $1.50 to $2 per roll. Compare that to a can of Pillsbury cinnamon rolls that you bake at home, which costs around $3 to $4 for 8 rolls, or about 40 to 50 cents per roll. The ingredient lists are nearly identical. The nutritional profiles are the same. The Kroger Bakery version costs 3 to 4 times more because it's sold in the bakery department with the perception of being fresher and higher quality. Here's what these 8 products reveal about the Kroger Bakery section. The white bread is par-baked frozen dough with industrial additives, finished in stores to create the smell and appearance of fresh baking. The blueberry muffins contain more than triple the sugar of a donut while being marketed as a breakfast food. The chocolate chip cookies are made from frozen pre-formed dough, costing 5 times more than packaged cookies with similar ingredients. The glazed donuts may contain trace amounts of trans fats from partially hydrogenated oils, even when the label says 0. The private selection artisan bread uses the same additives and par baking process as cheap white bread, with premium pricing based on added flavors and marketing positioning. The croissants are made with margarine or vegetable shortening and artificial butter flavor, not real butter and traditional lamination. The bagels deliver 20% of your daily sodium before you add anything to them, despite being perceived as a wholesome breakfast bake. And the cinnamon rolls contain nearly double the daily sugar limit in a single pastry, with icing made from vegetable oil and powdered sugar rather than cream cheese. The common thread across all these products is the gap between perception and reality. The bakery section creates a sensory experience that suggests freshness, quality, and simplicity. The smell of baking bread, the visual appeal of items displayed in cases rather than on shelves, the premium pricing that implies better ingredients, but the ingredient lists tell a different story. Long lists of additives, industrial fats, significant amounts of sugar and sodium, manufacturing processes that involve freezing, shipping, and finishing, rather than making from scratch. None of this is illegal. Kroger isn't breaking any rules. Every ingredient is FDA approved. Every label meets regulatory requirements. But the marketing and the reality are not aligned. The bakery section is designed to create emotional associations with home baking, artisan quality, and fresh preparation. The actual products are mass-manufactured frozen goods made with the same industrial processes and additives as packaged items in other aisles, just finished in a different location. For consumers, this matters because the price premium for bakery items is justified in their minds by the perception of quality. If a loaf of bread costs twice as much as bread in the bread aisle, shoppers assume it's meaningfully better. If a muffin costs $3 instead of buying a box of muffins for $4, the assumption is that the individual bakery muffin is fresher and made with better ingredients. But the labels reveal that these assumptions don't hold up. The practical takeaway is that the back of the package matters more than the department it's sold in. A product doesn't become healthier or simpler just because it's displayed in a bakery case. The ingredient list is the same whether the item is on a shelf or behind glass. The nutrition facts don't change based on where you picked up the product, and the fact that something smells good when you walk past the bakery counter doesn't mean it was made differently than packaged alternatives. If you enjoy Kroger Bakery products and the taste and experience justify the premium price for you, that's a valid personal choice. But if you're buying bakery items because you believe they're fresher, simpler, or made with better ingredients than packaged alternatives, the labels suggest that belief isn't supported by the actual product. You're paying for atmosphere, convenience, and perception more than for superior quality or ingredients. The information is there. Every ingredient list is available. Every nutrition label is required by law. The details that reveal what these products actually are versus what they appear to be are printed on every package. Most shoppers just don't take the 30 seconds to read them. They trust the department, they trust the smell, they trust the premium price. But in the grocery business, trust should be based on labels, not location.